See, entire in the unit of thermodynamics, we are having the chapters this. Okay, we are having the chapters like thermal expansion, calorimetry, heat transfer, laws of thermodynamics, and then kinetic theory of gases, and then kinetic theory of gases. Okay, okay, fine. Now you can see that here it is individually. Okay, according to the chapter, I will write the formulas. Okay, and entire this session it is a quick revision of all the formulas in the thermodynamics. Okay, okay, that is number one. And entire in this thermodynamics, okay, in the JE mains level, in the JE mains, okay, we can expect two questions. Okay, in the MSET and the TSM set or APM set. Nowadays it is called as EAP set. Okay, EAP set. In the EAP set, we can expect, okay, up to three questions, maximum three questions. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, out of that, out of the two questions or three questions, okay, from this chapter, definitely there will be one question. And sometimes there will be question from the kinetic theory of gases, or there may be question from the heat transfer or calorimeter. It will varies. Okay, most number of times they gave question on the heat transfer. Nowadays, from last 3 years, they are asking question on the kinetic theory of gases in the JEE mains. Okay, you can see in the February and March JEE mains 2021, they asked question from the this one kinetic theory of gases. Kinetic theory of gases. In any session, they asked. Okay, okay, fine. Now, see the we are having the firstly the first chapter. I'll keep as thermal expansion, and calorimetry. Expansion, comma, calorimetry. Okay. In this thermal expansion, firstly we are having the expansion of solids. Okay. Expansion of solids. In case of solids, we are having the three types of expansions are there. That is alpha, which can be called as coefficient of linear expansion of the solid. Coefficient of linear expansion. It is change in length, L2 minus L1, to its initial length times change in temperature. In short, I can write as dl by L1 times dt, where dl is the change in the length. Okay, change in the length, and dt is the change in temperature. Okay, okay, and beta, it is change in area. That is A2 minus A1 by A1 times T2 minus T1. That is nothing but change in area to the initial area times change in temperature. Okay, na? Fine. And then gamma, it is V2 minus V1 upon V1 times T2 minus T1. V2 minus V1, I can write as change in volume by initial volume times change in temperature. So the ratio of alpha, beta, and gamma, it is given as alpha is to beta is to gamma equal to 1 is to 2 is to 3. 1 is to 2 is to 3. That is, we can write the relation as beta is equal to 2 alpha and gamma is equal to 3 alpha. Okay, na? This one. After this one, we are having the applications of the thermal expansion of the solids. In the applications of thermal expansion in solids. Thermal expansion in solids. Okay. First and foremost application it is time period of a simple pendulum. Okay. Generally, we can write the time period of a simple pendulum as 2 pi times under root L by G. Okay. So that is time period equal to 2 pi by under root G is a constant times L power half. Now here I am going to see as the length of the pendulum increases or decreases, what will happen to the time period. Okay, as the length increases or decreases. In turn, see here, alpha is dependent on change in length. Okay, so I can write differentiate with respect to L on both sides. We'll get 2 pi by root G d by dl of L power half. That is half times L power minus half. Let us consider this as equation 1. And dt, that is change in time period, 2 pi by root c L power minus half, I will write as 1 by 2 root L. Cross multiply, will get dl, called as equation 2. Okay. So equation 2 by equation 1, we'll get it as dt by t equal to dt by t. dt means 2 pi by root g times 1 by 2 root L times dl. Time period 2 pi by root g times root L. So dt by t equal to dl by 12. Okay. So the change in the time period I can write as half times time period of one revolution times dl by L. Since I know that alpha is equal to dl by L times change in temperature, I will indicate with d theta. Okay. So dl by L I can write as dt equal to half into t into alpha d theta. Okay, now that is the first application. Suppose
ఇక్కడ
suppose if they ask time period of 1 day, time period of 1 day, that is t for 1 day, I can say that it is 86,400 seconds. Okay, 1 day means 24 hours. 1 day means 24 hours. Okay, and 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. So 24 into 3600 will get us 86,400 seconds. That is our first application. And tell me.
ఈ డెరివేషన్ అవసరం లేదు కదా సార్, ఆ లాస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ వదిలిపెట్టి.
అవును, జస్ట్ నీకు అని చెప్పాను అంతే. ఓకే. సెకండ్ వన్, ఇట్ ఈస్ calibration of scale. Calibration means preparation. Calibration of scale. Okay. Suppose let us consider I am having a scale. Okay. I want to prepare with a length L1. Okay. At a temperature, room temperature as given. Whenever we are heating it, okay, such that the temperature of the scale is increased, so that the L2, that is length of the scale, will also be increased. Length of the scale will also be increased. So L2 equal to L1 times 1 plus alpha into dt, that is T2 minus T1. Okay. Now whatever I got the length, suppose, okay, while preparing the scale, okay, it is found that instead of L2, okay, L2 dash, it is the correct length. L2 dash, it is the correct length. Okay, that is L1 times 1 plus alpha, 1 plus alpha, some temperature. Okay. So they will ask the what is the change in measurement between the correct length and measured length. This is the measured length. L2 is the measured length. So that is L2 dash minus L2. Okay. Generally, there is a chapter called units, errors, and dimensions. In that, we will find the error. That is error. It is the correct value or measured value minus observed value. Minus observed value. So here also I am doing the same. Okay. Correct length minus measured length. Okay. That one. That is the second application. And the third application, it is the thermal stress. And the third application, it is thermal stress. Thermal stress. Generally, stress means I can say that it is normal force acting on an object, okay, which is acting perpendicular to the surface. Okay. So I can say that stress is equal to force by area. Force by area. Okay. So depends upon the object. Sometimes what will happens, okay, this force, we can also write it as tension. We can also write tension. That is, tension is a force which acts always towards the point of suspension or point of contact. Point of contact. Okay. Suppose whenever the objects are suspended, likewise in simple pendulum, in that case we'll have tension. Or in the case of pulley or inclined plane, in that case we'll have the tension. Okay, fine. So this thermal stress means the stress which can be obtained obtained due to the temperature, that is force by area. Okay. Okay. Since I know that Young's modulus is equal to stress by strain. Fine. So Young's modulus I can write as F by A times L by DL. L by DL. Okay. Na? Fine. So since by using the formula, since alpha is equal to dl by L times dt, where dt is the change in temperature. So dl by L, I can write it as alpha times dt. Alpha times dt. So y is equal to F by A times. Here we are having L by delta L. So 1 by alpha times dt. So F by A, I can write as y alpha times dt. Okay. So thermal stress, it is given as sigma equal to y alpha dt. And remember this formula. Remember this formula. Okay. And fourth application, it is bimetallic strip. Bimetallic strip. Okay. That is bimetallic strip means it consists of two metals. It consists of two metals. Okay. The metal which is having the more number of particles will bend more. Suppose let us consider I'm having the two metals. I'm having the two metals. Suppose this is bismuth and this is copper. Okay, fine. Bismuth is having the more number of particles. Okay, so it will bend more. Okay, comparing to bismuth, copper is having somewhat less number of particles. So we can call the above one it is bismuth and below one it is copper. As the more number particles are there, it will bend more. Okay, it is a theoretical application only. Theoretical. Very few times in the 1979 or 1980, in that time, they asked this question for 1 mark. Okay, after that, never they have been asked, either in the emails or in the advanced. Okay, these are the applications of the thermal expansion in solids. And then next one, we are having the expansion in liquids. Expansion in liquids. Observe carefully and listen carefully
సార్
here.
బిస్మత్ ఎక్కువ ఎక్స్పాండ్ అవుతుందా?
Huh?
బిస్మత్ ఎక్కువ ఎక్స్పాండ్ అవుతుందా?
అవును.
హై అటామిక్ నెంబర్ ఉన్నది.
Bismuth, what is the atomic number? Atomic
More than
number of
copper.
more than copper. No? So whenever it is more than copper, okay, whenever as the more number of particles are there, okay, as the more number of particles, expansion will also be more. Expansion will also be more. Okay. Bismuth is having atomic number 83. Copper it is 29. Copper it is 29. Okay. Okay, fine. Now for the liquids, let us consider a round bottom flask. Okay. Initially, I am having a liquid. I am having a liquid up to here. Okay. So I am considering initial volume as V1. And before heating, the temperature of the flask it is T1. The temperature of the flask is T1. Now here what I am doing that I am heating the substance. I am heating the substance. Okay. Due to the heating, what will happens? What will happens upon continuously heating? Okay, there will be some amount or some volume of the liquid will be overflown. Will be overflown. Let us consider V naught is the volume of liquid overflown. Liquid overflown. Okay, that is upon heating the flask such that what happens initially this flask, okay, the outer surface, see this one, this flask will get heated and thereafter, okay, the outer surface, that is you can call it a container, container will get heated. Okay. After heating the container, that heat will be transferred to the liquid. Okay. Okay. Suppose the temperature is increased to T1 to T2. T1 to T2. Due to that, some of the liquid will be overflow. Okay. So there will be an expansion due to the remaining remaining liquid. Remaining liquid. So out of a volume V1, if V naught volume is overflown, the remaining volume I can write as V1 minus V naught. Can I write? Okay. Na? So here it is liquid is expanded with respect to the remaining liquid. There will be an expansion in the liquid with respect to the remaining amount. So that's why it can be called as apparent expansion. Apparent expansion. In this apparent expansion, okay, there will be an expansion of the remaining liquid. So in this apparent expansion, okay, since the expansion of the remaining liquid, it depends upon the expansion of the container. Expansion of the container. So gamma A equal to volume of the remaining liquid. Volume of the remaining liquid to the initial volume times change in temperature. So I can write as gamma A equal to V1 minus V naught by V1 times T2 minus T1. Okay, na? Fine. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Now you can see this one. So there will be an expansion of the container. Usually container will be made up of with glass, or container means it will be the solid shape. Either you can consider steel container or copper container or aluminum container. Whatever be the this one will have, it will be the shape of solid. So the expansion of the container I can write as gamma g. Okay. So since I know that gamma means 3 alpha, where gamma g it is the expansion of container. Expansion of container. Of container. Okay. Gamma g equal to 3 alpha g. Now we are having the another expansion. Now we are having the another expansion, that is whatever the remaining liquid is there, upon increasing the temperature, it will increases to V2. It will increases to V2. That means that is can be called as real expansion. Can be called as a real expansion, which will indicate with gamma R. This real expansion, it is defined as final volume minus initial volume. Or simply we can say that change in volume to the initial volume times change in temperature times, that is dV by V1 times dt. V1 times dt. Okay, na? Fine. Okay.
సార్
So this
సార్
tell.
ఒకసారి బ్యాక్ వెళ్ళరా బ్యాక్ సార్ వాల్యూమ్ ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ అంటే బీటా కదా సార్
వాల్యూమ్ కాదు, ఏరియల్ ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ అంటే బీటా.
కాదు
ఏరియల్
Okay.
ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ అంటే బీటా. ఓకే. See here. Alpha means coefficient of linear expansion. Beta means coefficient of areal expansion. Gamma means coefficient of volume expansion. Coefficient of volume expansion. Okay. Fine. Okay. This one. So we can say that gamma R is equal to gamma A plus gamma G. Instead of gamma G, we can also write 3 alpha G. Gamma R is equal to gamma A plus 3 times alpha G. Okay. Okay. Here also, likewise in solids, we are having applications of liquids. That is expansion in liquids. Suppose let us consider I am having the two containers. I am this is the container one, and here it is a container two. Okay. Suppose let us consider this container it is aluminum and this container it is copper. Okay. For your understanding purpose, I kept aluminum and copper. Okay. Such that both the containers are heated from T1 to T2, where T1 it is the initial temperature and T2 is the final temperature. Okay. Okay, fine. Now that means whenever it is heated to the same temperatures, then the the real expansion of both the containers must be same. Must be same. Okay, fine. That is the first application. Okay, whatever be the container, okay, whatever be the material it is, okay, if it is uh, heated to the same temperature, then the real expansion of both the liquids will be the same. Of both the liquids will be the same. Okay, fine. And the next application it is that second application. Suppose I'm having a beaker. Okay, here I'm having a liquid. Here I'm having a liquid. Okay, having a volume as V1. Initially temperature as T1. Okay, such that such that it is increased to a volume V2. That is this volume as V2 at a temperature T2. So observe I am shading the region, this part. This I can say that it is unoccupied volume of the container. Unoccupied volume of the container. Okay, fine. Suppose that means that unoccupied volume. Suppose if I am having the two liquids, like one is mercury and one is water, such that this unoccupied volume, that is dV, will be constant. Since I know that gamma A is equal to dV or volume of the remaining liquid to the initial volume times changing temperature. So gamma A V1 times dt of mercury is equal to gamma A V1 times dt of of water. Okay, if I'm having the two liquids, suppose now I'm considering here it is mercury and water. Okay, you can consider any two liquids. Okay, that we can write as gamma 1 V1 dt1 is equal to gamma 2 V2 dt2. These two are the applications. Okay, fine. And then next one it is thermal expansion in gases. Expansion in gases. Expansion in gases. In the thermal expansion gases, okay, firstly we are having the gas laws. Okay, first one it is Boyle's law. Okay, this one it states that at constant temperature, pressure of an gas is inversely proportional to its volume. At constant temperature, that is, we are not changing the temperature of the gas. Okay, pressure is inversely proportional to volume. That is, I can write as PV is equal to constant, where K is the constant. Okay, fine. If you draw the graph, okay, on y-axis it is pressure and on x-axis it is volume. The graph will be as volume increases, pressure will be decreases. Pressure will be decreases. Okay, okay, fine. And then next one it is Charles law. Charles law. Okay, okay. Next one is Charles law. It says that it says that at constant pressure, at constant pressure, volume of a gas is directly proportional to temperature. Volume of a gas is directly proportional to the temperature, or we can write it as V is equal to Kd, where K is a constant. Okay, where K is a constant. Now you can see on x-axis it is temperature, and on y-axis we are having the volume. Here we are having the graph as like this. That is, when temperature is 0, we'll have finite volume. Okay, volume will becomes 0 at absolute 0, that is 0 Kelvin, or we can say minus 273 degrees Celsius. Okay, next one we are having that Dalton's law. Okay, Dalton's law. Dalton's law. Here we are having the two rules. First rule that it is at constant volume. At constant volume, we can say pressure of a gas is directly proportional to temperature. That is, pressure equal to some constant into temperature, where K is a constant. Where K is a constant. And second rule, it is the total pressure of the container is equal to sum of the pressures of all the particles. If we are having n number of particles are there, sum of the partial pressures of all the particles. Okay, fine. Okay, now based upon these three laws, that is Boyle's law, Charles' law, and Dalton's law, by combining these, we are having an ideal gas law. Ideal gas law. Okay, that is we'll get as PV is equal to nRT, where capital R it is universal gas constant, P means pressure, and V means volume. T means absolute temperature. Okay, capital R can be called as universal gas constant. Okay, and small n it is defined as number of moles. Okay, this plays a vital role in the entire the unit of thermodynamics. Number of moles is given as given mass by molecular weight, or else given number of particles, to the Avogadro number, to the Avogadro number. Universal gas constant, it is a constant, so it is having the values, as 8.314 joule per mole Kelvin. Okay, or else 1 joule I can write as 10 power 7 ergs, by mole Kelvin. Okay, that is equal to 2 calories per mole degree Celsius. Okay, because the CGS unit of heat energy, it is calories. It is calories. Okay. By using this one, we can find. Okay, and thereafter, I think one time or two times, even in the MSET and even in the JEE mains, they asked about Van der Waal gas. We don't have. Of course, that time also it is, they gave the additional mark. Additional mark. In our physics, we don't have this Van der Waal gas law. But anyway, just remember the equation. P plus A by V square times V minus NB is equal to NR. Okay, where A and B are constants. Okay, especially this Van der Waal gas law will be arises due to the internal forces. Due to the internal forces. Due to internal forces, okay, there will be more pressure will acts between the particles. As pressure increases, what will happen? Volume will be decreases. Okay, volume will be decreases. Okay, that is what the thermal expansion in solids, liquids, and gases. And then next, calorimetry. Next, it is calorimetry. That is, in calorimetry, firstly we are having the definition of specific heat. That is 1 by m, amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the substance by 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin per unit mass of a substance, or per unit mole of a substance, can be called as specific heat. Latent heat, amount of heat required, okay, amount of heat required to change the state of the substance. To change the state of substance. Specific heat is corresponds to change of temperature. Change of temperature. And latent heat is corresponds to change of state. Change of state. Okay, fine. The principle in calorimetry, it is that heat gained by cold body, heat gained by cold body or cold object is equal to heat lost by heat lost by hot body, hot body. Okay, and thereafter we are having the heat capacity. Heat capacity, it is defined as, will indicate with C, amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the substance by 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin or 1 Kelvin. Okay, that is. These are the formulas are there in calorimetry. Okay, next chapter, that is chapter 2, that is heat transfer. Okay, heat transfer. Here in this heat transfer, here in this heat transfer, we are having the transmission of heat in the solids, liquids, and gases. Okay, between the solid particles, okay, we call conduction, liquid particles convection, and then followed by radiation. Okay, now completed this one. Okay, suppose firstly we are having the conduction. We are having the conduction. Conduction is the transmission of heat between the solid particles or solid and liquid particles. Okay, between the two or more solid particles or solid and liquid. Say for example, let us consider a container in which we are having a liquid. Suppose I will consider the milk. I will consider the milk. Whenever I am heating the container, there will be heat will be transferred from container to the milk. That is from solid substance to the liquid substance. Okay. This type of transmission of heat can be called as conduction. And then if the transmission of heat takes place between the liquid particles, between the liquid particles or liquid and gas can be called as convection. Liquid and gas can be called as convection. And then next, third one, it is radiation. There will be transmission of heat between the gaseous particles. Two or more gas particles can be called as radiation. Okay. Okay. Firstly, we'll see the conduction. Now, let us consider a conductor. Let us consider a conductor. Here, we are explaining the conduction with respect to temperature. This conductor is having a length L and it is having an area A. Okay. Suppose this end as A and this end as B. Okay. End A is at a temperature T1 and end B is at a temperature T2. Okay. Fine. Such that I am considering that T2 is greater than T1. That means end B, I can say it is hot end. And end A, I can call as an cold end. Because with respect to T2, T1 is having less temperature, somewhat less temperature. So we can say that, T2 it is the hot end and T1 it is the cold end. Okay, T1 is the cold end. Okay, always suppose let us consider I supplied an heat or energy E. Okay, then with this energy particles will move from hot end to the cold end, hot end to the cold end, like this, B to A. Always in the thermodynamics, particles will move from hot end to cold end. In electricity means always the particles will move from positive terminal or high potential to the low potential. to the low potential. Okay, so I can say change in temperature, I can write as T2 minus T1. Now, here we are going to see how much heat is transmitted from end B to end A. Okay, that is on what factors does the heat transmission depends. Heat transmission depends. Okay, heat transmission depends upon area, and heat transmission depends upon the change in temperature. Okay, change in temperature, that is D times capital T, and heat transmission depends upon the time. Okay, as the time increases, heat transmission will also be more, and heat transmission is inversely proportional to length. That is, as length of the conductor increases, the heat transmission will be decreases. Okay, upon combining all these results, we'll get Q is proportional to A times dt times small t by L. In order to remove this proportionality, we are keeping a constant called coefficient of thermal conductivity. Okay, or else we can write as Q by T. Q by T, it is, we can call it an rate of flow of heat. Rate of flow of heat. Okay, rate of flow of heat. That is given as Ka times D capital T by L. Okay, na? Where K can be called as coefficient of thermal conductivity. Coefficient of thermal conductivity. Okay. Now, I think in your 10th class, you might study the resistance of a conductor. Okay. Resistance of a conductor in electricity, we'll get it as, even in the current electricity, we'll get in the second year, intermediate second year, we'll get R equal to rho L by A, where rho is the resistivity. Since we know that conductivity and resistivity are reciprocal to each other, where sigma can be called as electrical conductivity. Electrical conductivity. Okay, fine. Now you can see here it is thermal resistance. I can write as L by Ka, where K is the coefficient of thermal conductivity. Coefficient of thermal conductivity. So in our formula here I can write it as Q by T equal to Q by T is equal to Ka times dt by L. We know that thermal resistance is equal to L by Ka. So here I can write Q by T is equal to change in temperature by thermal resistance. So change in temperature equal to thermal resistance times Q by T. Q by T, that is rate of flow of heat. Okay. Okay. Correspondingly, I can say that correspondingly, the corresponding quantity for rate of flow of heat in electricity is current, and this is resistance, and the corresponding quantity for change in temperature, it is potential difference. According to the Ohm's law, I can write it as V is equal to IR. V is equal to IR. Okay, fine. Suppose let us consider that if two conductors are in series, then I can write as R effective is equal to R1 plus R2. Okay, R1 plus R2. If length and area are same, I can write as K effective times A equal to L by K1A plus L by K2A. That means 1 by K effective equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. Okay, this is the case when the conductors are connected in series. When the conductors are connected in series, rate of flow of heat will be same. Q by T will be same, such that, okay, dt equal to dt1 plus dt2. Whenever the two conductors are connected in series, current flow among the two conductors is same, and The total potential difference is equal to sum of the potential difference of the two conductors. Similarly, we are having it parallel. Whenever the two conductors are connected in parallel, we can say that the temperature difference or potential difference it is same, and the total current is equal to sum of the currents flowing across the conductor. Okay, so now 1 by R effective is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. We know that R means L by Ka. So 1 by R1 means K effective times area by length equal to K1A by L plus K2A by L. Upon calculation, we'll get as K effective equal to K1 plus K2. Okay. Do more numericals on this coefficient of thermal conductivity. Most important. Okay. Fine. And then next, it is convection. Okay. We don't have any formula. And among in these 40 years, never they have been asked in the JEE mains or advanced or MSET or even in the BITSAT also. Okay. Just it is theoretical definition only, conceptually read that one only. Next one, it is radiation. That is, there will be transmission of heat between the gaseous particles. Between the gaseous particles. Okay. Okay, fine. Now, that is, suppose I'm having a conductor. Here, if I supply the heat, some of the heat will be utilized in the form of absorption, and reflection, and then transmission. Reflection and then transmission. Okay, fine. Okay, so amount of heat absorbed, I'll indicate with QA, QR, and QT. Okay, here we are having the coefficient of absorption, reflection, and then transmission. That is coefficient of absorption. Okay, that is indicated with A. It is given as amount of heat absorbed to the amount of heat supplied. Coefficient of reflection. That is amount of heat reflected to the heat absorbed. And then coefficient of transmission. That is QT by Q. Okay, so Kirchhoff explained that, okay, A plus R plus T is equal to 1. A plus R plus T equal to 1. Okay, where A is the coefficient of absorption, R is the coefficient of reflection, and T is the coefficient of absorption, coefficient of transmission. Okay, okay, fine. After this, we are having the black body radiation. That is, a black body is an object which neither it absorb nor it will transmit. Okay, or else we can say the body, if it absorbs and heat Q, the same amount of heat it will transmit. Neither, that means there will be no loss of heat in those objects. Based upon black body radiation, we are having the two laws. One is Stephen's law. That is, amount of heat radiated per unit area and per unit time is directly proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. Okay. Here, energy radiated per unit time, I can write as power radiated by area is proportional to T power 4. In order to remove this proportionality, we are having a constant, that is sigma, where sigma is having a value that is 5.67 times 10 power minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin per 4. Okay. And amount of energy radiated per unit area and per unit time is equal to sigma T power 4. So energy radiation, it also depends upon the property of the object or property of the substance. That property, we are calling it as emissivity. Where is the emissivity? Emissivity. Okay. For conductors, okay, emissivity equal to 1. Emissivity is equal to 1. Okay. Next, the second law, it is Wien's displacement law. Wien's displacement law. Displacement law. It states that the product of wavelength corresponding to maximum intensity. The product of wavelength corresponding to maximum intensity and absolute temperature is constant. And that constant we are indicating with B. Okay. The product of wavelength corresponding to maximum intensity. Okay. And absolute temperature is constant. And this constant value, it is 2.89 into 10 power minus 3 meter Kelvin. Okay. See, lambda m, it is we are having the general wavelength means it will be in the angstrom units. Okay. Upon calculation, we'll get it meters. And SI unit of temperature, it is Kelvin. Okay. Fine. These are the formulas in the heat transfer. These are the formulas in the heat transfer. Okay. Next, it is laws of thermodynamics. Laws of thermodynamics. Okay. Once go through the formulas for 2 minutes. See, next it is laws of thermodynamics. In this laws of thermodynamics, first initially we are having the zeroth law. It says that in a container, if we are having three systems, that is A, B, C. If A is in thermal equilibrium with B and B is in thermal equilibrium with C, that is thermal equilibrium means that temperature, if temperature of A is equal to temperature of B and temperature of B is equal to temperature of C, then we can say that temperature of C is in thermal equilibrium with A. Okay. In mathematics, we'll have the transitive property. Okay. Based upon the transitive property, we can say this one. And next one, it is first law of thermodynamics. In the first law of thermodynamics, it says that amount of heat supplied is equal to the sum of the internal energy and external work done by the particles. Okay. Okay, fine. Now you can see that here it is. Firstly, suppose whenever the substance is having an initial volume V1, initial volume as V1, okay, and final volume as V2, and for final volume as V2. If V2 is greater than V1, then we can say that it is expansion. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. If V2 is less than V1, then I can say that it is compression. Initially, okay, dW, that is the change in work done, is equal to P times dV. That is P times V2 minus V1. In the expansion process, dW will be positive. In the compression process, we can say that dW will be negative. Okay. Okay, fine. And internal energy, it is the total energy possessed by the particle. Okay, possessed by the particles can be called as internal energy. Okay, fine. Now, okay, internal energy. Okay, fine. And by using the from PV diagram, from PV graph, PV graph, work done can be obtained. Work done can be obtained. Okay, by considering that area under PV graph, area under PV graph. Okay, by using the this one we can find the work done. Okay, okay, fine. And then next, here we are having the different process like isothermal process, isothermal, and then adiabatic. Okay, adiabatic, and then isobaric, isobaric, and then finally uh, and isochoric. In all these process, we need to find the equation of state, equation of state, and as well as the work done, and as well as the work done. Okay, okay. Firstly, it is isothermal process. Firstly, it is isothermal process. In isothermal process, equation of state, that is, at constant temperature, pressure is inversely proportional to volume. At constant temperature, pressure is inversely proportional to volume. That is, it is similar to the Boyle's law. So we can write it as PV is equal to constant. That is, K is the constant. That is my equation of state. This is my equation of state. Okay, equation of state. Okay. Now, work done in isothermal process. It is nRT times ln V2 by V1, where V2 is the final volume and V1 it is the initial volume. Okay, write down. Okay, completed. Uh, okay, nRT times ln V2 by V1. This we can also write it as 2.303 times nRT log V2 by V1 to the base 10, to the base 10. Here we can write as, since the equation of state is PV equal constant, V1 equal to V2. So V2 by V1, I can also write it as P1 by P2. P1 by P2. Okay. Okay, fine. That is the isothermal process. Next it is adiabatic process. Adiabatic process. In the adiabatic process, it says that, okay, there will be no change in heat between the system and surroundings. between system and surroundings. That is dq equal to 0. Okay. So equation of state, it is that P times V power gamma is equal to constant. That I am considering as K. Okay. That we are considering as K. Since it is an ideal gas, so PV equal to nRT. PV equal to nRT. Instead of pressure, I can substitute as T by V. Okay. So T times V power gamma minus 1 is equal to constant. Okay, this is one form, and another form of equation of state, it is T into V power gamma minus 1. And now I will replace the volume. Okay, now I'll replace the volume, that is P power 1 minus gamma times T power gamma is equal to constant. Okay, these are the three forms of equation of state. And work done in adiabatic process, it is nr by gamma minus 1 times T2 minus T1, or else we can write 1 by gamma minus 1 times P2 V2 minus P1 V1. P2 V2 minus P1 V1. Okay. Okay. That is the adiabatic process. Next, isobaric process. Okay. Isobaric process. Isobaric process. That means pressure will be constant. Pressure will be constant. At constant pressure, volume is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, that is volume is equal to some constant temperature. If you observe carefully, okay, this isobaric process, it is like the Charles law. It is like, so V equal to kT is my equation of state. Equation of state. Okay, work done equal to PdV. So upon integration, we'll get P into V2 minus V1. Okay. Next, that is nothing but NR times T2 minus T1. Next one, it is isochoric process. Isochoric process. That is volume will remain constant. Volume will remain constant. So pressure is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, that is pressure equal to kT. That is the equation of state in isochoric process. Okay. Since work done dW equal to PdV, here volume is constant, so work done will be 0. Work done in isochoric process will be 0. Okay, these are the four processes which we'll use. Okay, after this we are having that specific heat at constant volume. Specific heat at constant volume. Okay, when volume is constant, work done will be 0. Work done will be 0. So amount of heat supplied is equal to the what will have, it is amount of heat supplied is equal to the internal energy. So instead of dq, I can write it as du. So Cv equal to 1 by n times du by dt, or else the change in internal energy I can write as ncv dt. And specific heat at constant pressure. Specific heat at constant pressure. At constant pressure, that is Cp, that is equal to 1 by n times dq by dt, or else dq is equal to ncp dt. Okay, by using the first law, that is dq equal to du plus dw, that is nothing but ncp dt is equal to ncv dt plus nr dt. So by using this relation, we'll get Cp minus Cv equal to R for 1 mole of a substance or for 1 mole of a gas. Okay. For n moles, we can write it as Cp minus Cv equal to Nr. Cp minus Cv equal to Nr. Okay, okay, fine. Now after this one, we are having the we are having the decrease of freedom. We are having the decrease of freedom. Okay, okay, fine. Decrease of freedom. It is defined as minimum number of coordinates that are required to explain the motion of the motion of the substance or particle. Okay, degrees of freedom, which will indicate with small letter f. Okay, degrees of freedom is explained as minimum number of coordinates that are required to explain the motion motion of the particle. Okay, okay. Here we are having the three types of gases: monoatomic, and then diatomic, okay, and then polyatomic, and then polyatomic. For monoatomic, we are having the three translational degrees of freedom are required. For diatomic, okay, three translational and two vibration, sorry, two rotation. And for polyatomic, three translational, two rotation, and one vibration. So, number of degrees of freedom for monoatomic it is 3, and diatomic it is 5, and polyatomic it is 6. With respect to this, okay, we are having that according to the law of equipartition of energy, law of equipartition of energy, it says that the total energy, the total energy of the particles is equal to half times FRT. Okay, or you can write it as half times FRT. That is, the total internal energy of the substance is equal to half FRT. Okay, so that is du by dt. I can write it as FR by 2, which is nothing but CV. If we consider that for one more, so CV is equal to FR by 2. For monoatomic, it is 3R by 2. For diatomic, 5R by 2. And for polyatomic, it is 3R. Correspondingly, CP, that is, CP is equal to CV plus R. That is 3R by 2 plus R. 3R by 2 plus R. I can write as 5R by 2. And here 7R by 2. And this is 4R. Okay, and then we are having a gamma. That is, gamma is defined as ratio of the specific heats at constant pressure to the constant volume. Constant pressure to the constant volume. That is given as for monoatomic 5 by 3, for diatomic 7 by 5, and for polyatomic it is 4 by 3. Okay, for polyatomic it is 4 by 3. Okay, fine. Suppose that is specific heats and this one, and then next one it is Carnot cycle. Before going to Carnot cycle, we are having the cyclic process and non-cyclic process, or reversible process and irreversible process. Reversible process and irreversible process. Okay, suppose let us consider I am having a substance, okay, in which the state will starts from A and finally it reaches to the point B. Okay, that is, the state of the substance is changes from A to B. Suppose after some time, again, the substance changes its state from B to A. This type of process, we can call it as cyclic process or reversible process. Okay, that means here, even though it changed its state, after some time, again, it came back to its initial state. It came back to its initial state. Okay, whenever the substance reaches to its initial state, we can call that process as cyclic process or reversible process. Okay. In this case, in the reversible process, the total internal energy will be zero. Remember. Okay. Blindly, you can say cyclic process or reversible process, the internal energy will be zero. In the irreversible process, in the irreversible process, okay, there will be an internal energy will be present. There will be an internal energy will be present. Irreversible process. Okay, du is not equal to zero. That means the particles will not reach to its initial position. Will not reach to its initial position. Okay, that is du is not equal to zero. Okay, so according to the first law, we can write dq equal to du plus dw. Okay. And thereafter, we are having the heat engines. In the heat engine, we are having the Carnot cycle, and Carnot cycle is an example for reversible process. Carnot cycle, okay, is an example for the reversible process. In this, we'll find we are having only the two formulas in the Carnot cycle. That is, efficiency of a Carnot cycle. It is given as work done in moving the particles from source to the sink to the heat supplied. Okay, where Q1 is the heat supplied by the source. That is Q1 minus Q2 by Q1, where Q1 is the heat supplied by the source and Q2 is the heat rejected by the sink. Okay, so heat, since we know that heat is directly proportional to temperature, so T1 minus T2 by T1. That is the efficiency of the Carnot cycle. And then we are having the refrigerator. And then we are having the refrigerator. Refrigerator is an example for irreversible process. Irreversible process. That is performance of a refrigerator is equal to, okay, heat rejected by the sink upon work done, or Q1 minus Q2. Heat rejected by the sink to the work done. Since heat is an, okay, that dependent on the temperature, so we can write as T2 by T1 minus T2. T1 minus T2. Okay, fine. That is, these are the formulas are there in the laws of thermodynamics. And next, finally, we are having the, that is chapter 4, we are having the kinetic theory of gases. Chapter 4, we are having that kinetic theory of gases. In the kinetic theory of gases, here firstly, we are having the assumption that the volume of the particle is negligibly small, such that the total volume of the particles is, or total volume of the container is approximately equal to the volume of all the particles. Volume of all the particles. Okay. So firstly, we are having the pressure of an ideal gas. Pressure of an ideal gas. Ideal gas. Okay, that is the pressure of an ideal gas is given as 1 by 3 rho c square. 1 by 3 rho c square, where rho is the density and c is the speed of the particles. Rho is density. Okay, so I can write as density means mass by volume. Mass by volume. So pressure equal to 1 by 3 mc square by volume. So pressure into volume is nothing but work done or else kinetic energy. Okay. Suppose if initial kinetic energy is zero, by using work energy theorem, I can say work done is in the form of kinetic energy. Is in the form of kinetic energy. Okay. That is equal to 1 by 3 mc square. Okay. 1 by 3 m C square. Okay, na? Fine. Okay. So kinetic energy is equal to, I can write it as, okay, multiply by 2 on both sides. That is PV is equal to, that is kinetic energy is equal to 2 by 3 times half mc square. 2 by 3 times half mc square. Okay. Okay. Fine. So that is, I can write it as, okay, pressure into volume is equal to 2 by 3 times kinetic energy, or kinetic energy is equal to 3 by 2 times pressure into volume. 3 by 2 times pressure multiplied by volume. Okay, fine. Remember this relation and this one. Okay, based upon this, I can see, suppose from the equation 1 and this one as equation 2. Okay, from equation 1, I can write C square equal to 3P by rho. Okay, that is equal to 3PV by small m. Since it is ideal gas, PV equal to nRT. That is, PV is equal to given mass by molecular weight times RT. That is, PV by small m means I can write 3RT by capital M. So CRMS is equal to under root 3RT by capital M. Okay. By definition, RMS speed means square root of root mean square. That is square root of C1 square plus C2 square plus C3 square and so on to Cn square by n. Okay, that is the RMS speed. Okay, and then most probable speed. Most probable speed. Suppose, okay, most probable speed, which will indicate with CMP. If we are having the 10 particles are there, okay, 10 particles are there. Whatever the 10 particles are there, suppose if most number of particles are having the same speed, okay, that can be considered as most probable speed. So that is half m c mp square. That is the kinetic energy of the particle. Kinetic energy is equal to work done, that is pressure into volume. That is nothing but RT. Okay, so CMP square is equal to under root 2PV by small m, or else that is equal to 2RT by capital M. And then next, average speed, that is given as, this average speed we found by using the black body radiation or Maxwell distribution of velocities. That is given as C average equal to under root 8 RT by pi m by pi m. Okay, and then finally we are having the mean free path. Mean free path. Okay, most important. In the last year JEE mains, okay, they asked, that is lambda is equal to, okay, 1 by root 2 pi n d square, where n is the number of particles per unit volume and d is the diameter. D it is the diameter. D is diameter. Small n it is the number of particles per unit volume. Number of particles per unit volume. Okay, fine. Okay. These are the formulas are there in thermodynamics, entire the unit of thermodynamics. Once please go through all the synopsis so that tomorrow we'll do the numericals. Okay, na? Fine. Okay. Tomorrow we'll meet.